How's everybody doing today? Better do a mic check quick. How we sounding? We sounding good today? Let me pull that away a little bit. Feel like I'm eating my microphone. Hope everybody's having a good day. Man, I've been talking about this Epstein stuff for a long time, but we got to get into some of this. I mean, obviously what's going on right now is this is insanity, dude. This is like theater. This is ridiculous. Hope everyone's doing good. Box office is looking great. I think we just broke. We should be at about 460 million at this point. After this weekend, maybe a little higher. So looking good. But we got to talk about. I normally don't like to talk politics. I really hate talking politics. But at some point, like, what is going on in front of us? This is an embarrassment. This is an absolute fucking embarrassment, and we got to get into this. I mean, Trump's main platform, one of the things he talked about was, if I win, I'm going to release the Epstein files. Now it comes time to release them, and what do? Who cares about them? This is insanity, what he says. Now he's saying Barack Obama made it. Like, we're going to get into some stuff here. This is pretty funny, but I'm sure everybody's heard about this by now. Trump's been going off about the Epstein files. Today he says again, who cares? That other director now just resigned. But I want you guys to listen to what he posted yesterday, because it's like, okay, you make your own conclusions on this one. So basically, he comes out saying, what's going on with my fan base? They're going after, Pam Bondi, and she's doing a great job. Now she's talking about all these people trying to hurt all their efforts over one guy named Jeffrey Epstein. He just doesn't seem to go away. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama? So he's now saying that these files are created by Obama and the crooked Biden administration and Hillary Clinton. And first of all, Bill Clinton was continuously talked about being on this list. So if they made a list, why would they put Bill on it if Hillary was on there? But then he says right here in the middle, they created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton one. So this is crazy. So now he's pretty much saying that the Epstein files, they were created, they're real. So now there are files. He's admitting, this is what I want people to understand right now. Donald Trump right here is admitting that there are files out there. But he's saying that his opponent created them. And then he says that there's nothing bad about him in there. If there was, why wouldn't they use it against him when he was trying to run for president? That's his well, if they had it, they would have used it. No, that's not the case. We all know this. In the end of the day, both of these parties, you can look throughout history. What they will do is they will always trash an individual. They will always come out and bash an individual, but they'll never do anything that will hurt a party. Only an individual that is running for a certain position. So what this tells you is there is files, then there's guys on both sides. If who's one of the most famous Democrats? Bill Clinton. If suddenly he was tarnished on there, guess what? That would be a huge blow to the Democratic Party. God forbid, I'm not saying he's on there, but imagine if like an Obama was on there, type of figure, another, a couple more of those on both sides. You already know what's going on with little Mr. Andrews here, we'll get into in a second, but they're not going to do anything that's going to be damning to a party, because then the other party is going to have to do what? Release them to damn the other party. And what they'll do is they'll look at each other and say, hey, you're going to damn us, we're going to damn you. It's going to go back and forth. It's going to get really bloody, or we can just both agree not to touch these files. People act like they show you right now. When they want to work together, Republicans and Democrats, when they want to, they can. They do it every time. When the rich people say, hey, this benefits us more than it benefits them, guess what? It gets done every time, miraculously. They suddenly can put all their differences aside and they're good to go. So, I want you to listen to this real quick. So, they asked Pam, because we're going to get into some stuff here, because obviously I'm sure everybody's seen the video, which we'll talk about in 1 second. Here, but listen to what Trump here.
Sure. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking... We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success.
this winning. We're doing all this winning, you guys. Just always talks about winning and winning and winning. Well, we're going to show you what that winning is. In the last 2 days, he's added $410 billion to the debt. That's winning. He's added $410 billion to the debt. And we're going to get into what he's spending it on, what's getting added to, and how it's going to raise exponentially in the next couple weeks. He might hit about $860 billion in the next couple weeks. And people are acting like he's not going to hit this $5 trillion by the end of his term. He is going to. We're going to talk about the surplus because a lot of people are excited about the surplus, and I want people to understand what's going on with that, why it's the way it was, and how it's not going to continue, especially because he's been pausing tariffs, pushing them down. At first, he had these ones with massive percentages, and then he lowered the percentages, then he made the trade deal with China. So there's a lot of things that are going to be affecting the surplus going forward. A lot of people think it'll just keep going up and up, which, again, he paused all those tariffs, so the surplus will go away. One of the things people don't realize, too, we had a small surplus in 2024 as well in September. So they happen. But when you look at the overall fiscal year, we're still at negative $1 trillion. So having a $27 billion surplus one time is not showing that these are working. It's showing that at first he was collecting a huge amount, and then all these deals got done, and that's the point of tariffs as well. He's not going to keep them going this high throughout his entire term. There'll be trade deals. It's going to drastically lower, but the problem is he keeps adding to the debt, and when you add to the debt, it adds to your expenses. Now, if you guys look here, the number. So for the first time in history, the number one expense on our debt sheet, on our expense sheet, expense report, is debt. It's $144 billion, and he just added another $410 billion to that at the new rate. So again, this number is going to drastically raise and raise and raise and raise each quarter. So we're going to keep spending more and more and more just on debt alone. But back to this. So one of the things they ended up doing, which I don't even understand why you would do this. Like, this just opened yourself up. Why would you even do this? They put out a video. Well, number one, you can look through metadata. There's softwares that you can look through metadata. You can see how many times a video was uploaded to a site, how many times it was edited. You can see that type of information. They uploaded it to a site 4 different times, so there was 4 different metadata checks on there. So it was completely doctored. They edited a doctored video, and they sent it out to the world. Hey, here's a doctored video, and it shows Jeffrey Epstein here. And then on top of that, right when I watched it, the first thing I always did was, because I was watching, you watch it, you can see the camera angles change and things like this. And one of the things that Pam Bondi says is, the reason there's a minute missing in the video is because every night it resets quick. But I can tell you that that's incorrect, because if you guys look at the video, I should have brought it up. If you guys look at the video when the missing minute goes by, the camera angle changes. The camera angle completely changes. It's down and then it goes up like 3 inches on the screen. Like, you completely see that it moved. If it reset, no, something happened with the camera. You guys either did something and then it came back up. The camera went down for a second because it's at a completely different angle when it comes back. And if you said it's an old system, so it reset. If it's an old system and reset, that means it doesn't have the technology where, like, the cameras themselves, like, power down for a minute. They're not going to do that. They're not going to power down the camera every night. So the camera's not going to change angle unless somebody physically walked up and changed the angle of the camera. So again, they release a doctored video. In the doctored video, it shows Jeffrey apparently being escorted to you see him walk across the floor with 2 police officers. That's supposed to be Jeffrey Epstein. If you count the minute, or the count, look at the time it takes from him to walk to one side to the other, guess what? It takes 3.4 seconds. The camera goes down for 1 minute, and this is supposed to show you that nobody has entered his cell block. Well, it takes 3 seconds to walk across the entire thing. What can you do in a minute? Like I said, none of this stuff adds up. It's just all like, Then you have the director of the FBI saying, oh, I'm going to expose everything. We got the list. We know about Bill Gates. We know Bill Gates is lobbying. We know Bill Gates' life left him because Bill Gates and her, she even said in her own words, I didn't like the relationship he had with Jeffrey Epstein. And then she left him for it. He paid her a ton of money, never even fought it, nothing. Just go ahead, take it all. Huh. Wonder why. But, again, now they come out and say that first they say, there was no list, and then they go ahead and do this, the clown show. What was the purpose of the clown show? Well, we're going to have all these famous influencers come out and show the Epstein files. What? Okay. So then they have these Epstein files, and it says phase 1. I guess we're never going to get to phase 2. There is no phase 2. It's never happening. Phase 2 is to tell us that the Democrats created the list, I guess. So now, today, again, he comes out and says we all need to move on from Epstein and just forget about this. And then what you have now, and another reason I'm going to get into this is you're going to see something just happen today. But I want people to understand, everybody keeps asking the question, why don't any of these girls come forward? Why doesn't anybody tell on anybody? Well, there are some that have come forward, and if you look, they've all died. One got in a car accident and then later died mysteriously a couple months after. She said she didn't want to kill herself, nothing, but then they said she committed suicide. Again, if you guys look at what happened here, though, so the victims of Epstein got $290 million from J.P. Morgan and Chase. They got $75 million from Deutsche Bank. They also got $164 million from Epstein's estate. That's $516 million. And this is divided up by 200 women. So that's a lot of money. Again, what they're going to end up doing is making it so they can't talk about this, talk about the case, talk about any of that. It's basically like a huge giant payoff for all of these women, and they probably signed all these things. And like I said, the couple that have, go ahead and look them up. They've all died mysteriously. All these things happened to them. Here you go. So again, J.P. Morgan Chase, $290 million. Now, I want you to listen to him real quick. I want you to listen to this. I don't even want to talk about Jamie Dimon right now, but listen to what he says here. It's pretty interesting.
Client of yours, and that is Jeffrey Epstein. JP Morgan's being sued now by the U.S. Virgin Islands. They're alleging that your bank helped facilitate payments to Epstein's victims and benefited from human trafficking while ignoring warnings. Do those allegations have merit?
So I cannot talk about current litigation except to say that whenever these things come up, we have some of the best lawyers in the world, compliance, out of the DOJ, out of SEC enforcement divisions, who review all of these things and make decisions at the time based on what they know, as best as they know.
You're going to be deposed, we've learned now.
So basically, I can't talk about, but don't worry, we got the best lawyers and they're going to handle it. So a couple things I found out today. So here you go. Here's the Deutsche Bank proof, $75 million as well. Here, if you guys look, it talks about the estate programs, how it's divvied up to equal to $164 million that was divvied out to the 200 women from that estate as well, just so you guys can see the numbers. But one of the things, now here we go. Prince Andrew free to travel as the FBI drops its probe into the royal family and Epstein. So first they say they dropped the case because there was no list. They didn't find any evidence and there's nothing. Now Trump comes out and says there is a list, but the Democrats made it. Okay? So who the hell is he trafficking it to? But one of the things I found out, so I talked about this before. The Virgin Islands was going to criminally prosecute J.P. Morgan. They were going to prosecute. Jamie Dimon would have went to jail. A whole bunch of executives would have went to prison. So instead, what I find out is, if you guys look here, the Virgin Islands office in 2020, actually settled a lawsuit over him doing all this stuff, over the island, over the trafficking, over all of that. They settled with the Epstein estate. And then the Epstein estate paid them $105 million cash, plus half of the plus half of the proceeds from the sale of the entire island. Plus, they also gave another $450,000 for environmental damages. So they basically paid off the Virgin Islands, the office, who was going to be prosecuting them. They paid them off pretty much 145, 150, 160 million dollars. So they pay this office off, and the Attorney General was going after them and said, "I don't give a I'm going to go after these guys. Fuck that. They're child traffickers. I'm going after them." So what's the office do? What's this guy do? He gets in a giant fight. No, you're not. You're not going to go after them. She's like, "Fuck yeah, I am." And then she files the court case. She files it. And then the next day, Joe Biden flies out. Little Joe Biden. So like I said, red or blue, they're all in on this shit. Joe Biden flies out. He flies out on vacation. This is the exact day after. Hold on. What? Here it goes. Hold on. Here you go. So then Biden flies out for vacation after these files were charged. Then like 2 days after, she's fired. All right. So then all of this gets dropped, and then the next day they settle out of court, or like a month later they settle out of court for this $290 million, and nobody goes to jail. JP Morgan Chase made way more than this doing it, but that's it. That's the end of it, and everyone moves on. And it's like a hush, hush, hush. Democrats, you cover it up. Republicans, you cover it up. And that's right there. That is what I'm saying. Trump, right there. Why wouldn't they use it against me if they had all this? That's why they wouldn't use it against you, because you're all fucking you're all in on the fucking thing. It hurts you all equally bad. So, again, the Virgin Islands didn't know this girl was going to go after him, and then when they found out, they started fighting with her and said, "You can't go after him." Well, yeah, because of course, again, they had a $105 million payoff a year earlier. A couple years earlier, they took their bribe, they took their payoff, and they took the proceeds of the sale of the island. So then they probably agreed that they couldn't go back after him. So then when she was going to try and go after him, they're like, "We can't do that. We already took our bribe." So, Pam comes out here and says, "I got all this shit on my desk, and tomorrow..."
Office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
Tomorrow's always just a day away. It's always just a day away. But I want you guys to understand who Pam Bondi is. Pam Bondi was paid $203,000 for legal services, but nobody knows what she did. But she got paid by Pfizer. Okay, I want you to understand this. She got paid $203,000 by Pfizer to come over and be a legal consultant. You know what else she did on the side? Because they were her only client paying her? She was a lobbyist. She was lobbying for millions of dollars for Big Pharma. Well, guess what happened? The second she gets in, instead of handling all this stuff, she made sure to take time in her day to go ahead and run over and cancel the Pfizer bribery investigation. Her office, she runs over and says, "Pfizer didn't do anything. My old employer, they would never bribe anybody." Of course they wouldn't, Pam. No, they wouldn't. What do you call this? Nobody knows what you did for him, but here you are. Now, some breaking news today. So, since all these people are free to fly around and Jeffrey Epstein killed himself and apparently trafficked to nobody and he was an innocent man. He was an innocent man. According to all these guys. He was innocent. So, what are we talking about him for? So, what's Maxwell do? Guess what Maxwell did today? Maxwell is going to kill herself. She's going to commit suicide in the next couple days here. Magically, in the next couple weeks. Watch. Maxwell faces do-or-die moment in court as UF government seeks to block retrial. Maxwell comes out today and says, well, hell, since nobody did anything, why am I in prison? So she files today an appeal to the Supreme Court. She files an appeal. Well, nobody did anything. What am I in prison for? So what's happening now? She goes, I either want you to dismiss my case or I want a retrial. Because you guys said that I human trafficked to these people, but then you said that they didn't human traffic to anybody. So we need to go back to court and you need to prove I human trafficked to somebody. You need to prove I recruited people for people to get, because you said nothing happened and it was all made up by the Democrats. So now you need to prove that I actually did these crimes you said. So what's the government do? What's the government doing? Oh, no, fuck no. They're sending over the U.S. government's own personal lawyers. They're getting the best lawyers in the world. And they're going, hey, you better not let her appeal. We don't want to go to trial. What do you mean? Well, if we have to go to trial, we'd have to prove everything that we said didn't happen. We'd have to prove that it did because she needs to go back in jail. You mean you'd have to prove everything was true that you guys just said was a complete lie and made up by the Democrats? If this girl goes to trial, guess what happens? Everything comes out in discovery. It's all got to come back out. Everything they want you to stop talking about has to come back to the surface, and they need to prove she's a human trafficker recruiter. How are they going to do that when they just said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic to anybody? So now they're sending over the FBI's guys. They're sending over everyone. The Doge. They're sending over senior Doge people. No, they're sending over everything. Everyone that you could send. They're sending the kitchen sink over, and they're saying, do not let this girl go back to court because she fucking blows our entire everything. She blows everything. She screws up her whole story. There's a 0% chance now that this girl there will be a retrial. But what are they going to do? Because according to them, and like I showed today, now listen, so here's the thing today. Her lawyer comes out, because here's the thing. Her lawyers were probably just sitting there like, oh my God, they were loving life. Nothing happened. Nobody happened to nothing. Nobody did anything wrong. Everybody's great. Everyone's perfect. So what's her lawyer do today? Well, if nobody did anything...
Well, obviously I can't violate attorney-client privilege. However, I can tell you my experience as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney for 3...
I don't even want to get into this guy. His voice annoys me. But he talks about, okay, well, if nothing fucking happened and there's no list and I don't believe there's a list, what are we doing here? Exactly. So now, her lawyers are over here having a field day with this. They're going to go into the Supreme Court and show all of this to these judges. Hey, your own government said that it was a lie. Prince Andrew, the guy that you guys said I trafficked for, just got off the hook. Look, he's done. He's no longer being investigated. The guy that you said I trafficked to is no longer being investigated. What are we doing? I got to go free. Because she got in trouble for this guy. She got mainly in trouble for this guy. This guy was the bread and butter that they had on her. So your main point of your case just got dropped. Now what? Now what are they going to do? So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens here, because I guarantee you something's going to happen to this girl before she can go to trial. So just this is a very interesting, development to the story here. So let's see what happens with this in the next couple weeks. But This is exactly what I figured and I said was going to happen. Okay, well then you got to release this chick, because what else is what can you do? Meanwhile, this is something I wanted people to notice after COVID, things like this. So over the past decade, the combined wealth of the world's 3,000 billionaires have grown by 6.5 trillion. 6.5 trillion. That's equal to 14.6% of global GDP. This is exactly what all our forefathers told us about. You're going to have slaves through debt, and you're going to have these guys who have $50 million weddings. Because, again, they convinced you that if poor people take advantage of the system, they need to rot in hell. They're pieces of shit and they're lazy. But yet, rich people every day abuse the system, and no one blinks, no one bats an eye, and no one cares. It's fine. They're rich. They're allowed to do it. They create jobs. Whatever. Think of the stupid excuses that they have implanted in people's minds. It's okay. They're criminals. They give people jobs. It's okay. They still don't. They still give what most of the taxes. They still pay billions in taxes. Great. They should pay fucking 17 billion in taxes when they're fucking making 30. They should pay the same fucking rates we do. Instead, they pay 10 and 12%. So, meanwhile, they said that zooming out, listen to this. The richest 1% of the global population now have $34 trillion in terms of assets. And so they have $34 trillion. That would be enough to end global poverty 22 times over. Meanwhile, we're giving these guys more tax breaks. The big, beautiful bill. I don't know if people noticed, but everything that was good for me and you, no taxes on tips, lower, all that stuff, they all have expiry dates. But the tax breaks for the rich doesn't. Theirs don't expire, but ours expire in in about 3 years. Taxes on tips come back. The lower, all these little breaks that they gave middle class, they all expire, but none of the riches expire. All theirs stay for life. Again, it's all about giving them more, giving them more, giving them more when they have everything already. But they have all the jobs. Of course they do. They're criminals. They can go ahead and manipulate your stock and manipulate your company and destroy your company through the media and through everything else. They can make fake. We've seen it through AMC. You've seen it through GameStop. You've seen it through all of these companies. They short and distort and destroy every company. They don't have competition because they squash it out before it can even fucking bloom. They see a seed planted and they step on it. And they step on it. Oh, keep giving us your money. Oh, you have some new invention? Let me fucking take that. Just keep giving me shares of your company so I can eventually just own all your patents. Of course, like I said, of course they have. They're fucking criminals that control the world. There's never been more, we've never more in the history of the United States needed a revolution. I showed everybody Britain's tax. Britain taxed us 2%. Taxation without representation. You're paying 37 to 40% taxes. Do you feel represented? Do you feel that the government has your best interest at heart? Nope. You have your situation's 55 times worse than it was when they actually revolted. And what are we doing? And now we're sitting here protecting pedophiles. This shows you that the elites, these fucking guys, they got away with a child sex trafficking ring. They can get away with anything. They no longer fear. 340 million let 600 control their entire life, destroy their life, steal their retirements through the stock market every day, make new laws that fuck you every day while giving them more tax breaks. Like I said, what this country has become is just pathetic, man. It is unbelievable what is happening. Meanwhile, like I said, our debt's going up, the value of the dollar's just destroying. But what do? They just destroy other countries worse. The only reason the United States is still kicking strong is because every day we get worse, we go out and we fuck up more countries through derivatives even worse, so they're more worse off than us. So we always make sure that no matter how shitty we are, the rest of the world's that much shittier. And that's why everybody starts calling us the evil of the world, because we destroy all of them financially through the back end. We're that dark assassin stabbing them in the back that nobody knows. That's exactly what we're doing, man. We just destroy everybody so the dollar is always a superpower. Even Trump said no matter what, we can't lose the value of the dollar. It would be like losing a big war, and we need to do whatever it takes to keep the value of that dollar strong, which is destroying other countries' dollars. Because why? We keep adding debt, and the more debt we add, the more we need to fuck everyone else up. So Trump wanted to talk about that surplus, but again, the surplus happened because of the tariffs were so high. Now they're renegotiated. Now they're paused. You're going to go ahead and again have a negative balance next, a deficit, and again you've already added 410 billion. I should go look at what it is now, but again, it's the same thing. Every single president comes out and says, red or blue, we're going to stop spending. We're going to take care of the deficit. No, they're not. They're not doing any of that. One of the things people don't understand. This is going to jump drastically now. One of the things that the United States did is when we hit the debt ceiling, we ended up doing agreements, okay? They were deferred agreements of large amounts of billions and billions and billions of dollars in payments. Now, because we did these deferred, because we couldn't pay them, because we hit our debt ceiling. So we went out and made side deals with all these people. But now since we have that money in the $5 trillion, we now owe all of that money back, and it was like hundreds of billions of dollars. And then we owe them interest on all of those hundreds of billions of dollars. So again, we owe like an extra 120 billion because we hit the debt ceiling and then made these awful bets awful deals on the side. But that's the thing, they don't care. They don't care how bad deals are for us. They don't give a shit. They don't care how much they devalue the dollar because no matter what, they'll always have enough. Why you won't. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve just hit $240 billion in debt to the Treasury. They owe the Treasury $240 billion. If you guys look throughout history, again, before this time, it's never been under $3 billion in debt. The next year, they would pay that and then interest. They haven't paid into the Treasury since 2022. It's been 3 years since the Federal Reserve has put any money into the Treasury. 3 years since they've put money into the Treasury. Instead, they owe them $240 billion now. Next week, by the end of the week, again, it's raising about $4.5 to $6 billion each week now. So you'll be at about $245 billion next week. Good job, Federal Reserve. And this is, again, why we need to get rid of a private entity in control of our dollar. Because as long as this private entity can do whatever the hell it wants and print and owe anybody whatever they want, they're going to just keep... This is insane. This is honest to God insane. $240 billion IOU. The Treasury last month, I just showed you, had to do their biggest debt. They just did their biggest debt raise because they ran out of money. That's because the Federal Reserve hasn't paid them money in 3 years. And that's one of their biggest source of incomes. But hey, who cares? On top of that, I've already shown you all of these, everybody's celebrating all of these government jobs and all of these jobs that people are losing. Well, guess what? Now you have all these people losing jobs, and guess what's going on? Everyone's getting sick. Everyone's getting sick and they're feeding you crap. They've been feeding you trash and poison for years. So what are we now? This is kind of, I thought this was a pretty interesting chart. Just want to show everybody this. So, this is how much, what was the number one, export in each country, in each state. Well, if you guys look at each one of these, health service in 1990 was none. There was nobody. Now, if you look at the United States, almost 90% of the entire country, the number one thing is health. It's just health jobs. That's all it is. Everybody works in some kind of health-related thing because everybody's fucking sick. I know people be like, oh, be like this. No, it's in COVID. No, COVID's been over for a while. Nope, it's just everybody's been eating shit. And here's the thing. People sit there and they donate to these cancer research centers. Guess what? If you donate to a cancer research center, they take 10% of it and they put it towards research. They keep 90% of it. And then what they do is they say, hey, if we ever cure cancer, we're out of a job. Why would they cure cancer? Why would they have the cure for cancer? They have the cure for AIDS. Magic Johnson showed you they have the cure for AIDS. Like, nobody wants to talk about how Magic Johnson was dying of AIDS? And then one day was magically okay? Just the first fucking case in history? No. He has a lot of fucking money. When you have a lot of money, you get the cures we don't know about. They hold off on all this stuff. They know. Like I said, they sit there. JFK comes out and tells you about all these things that they're poisoning in your food, the dyes, the this, the that. Yeah, they're feeding you shit that causes you cancer because they're all monopolies. They all own this shit. They feed you the crap that causes you cancer, then they sell you the fucking drug that supposedly cures you, but it does it? And then if you die, oh well, who cares? Whatever. But we'll sell you some cure that, it's going to be expensive. Your insurance might not cover it, and guess what's going to happen? That new law that just passed that I talked about last time with the health insurance, dude. And then this big beautiful bill taking a lot of health insurance and SNAP from people. Again, you're going to have a lot of sick people that have nowhere to turn. And you already saw what happened before. I'm not provoking, but there might be a little more Luigi type situations if people. These guys keep pushing these people. Like I said, I don't understand it. They got the psyops on people where when rich people steal every day, no one cares. They take advantage of the system every day. But if one poor person went to Cub Foods one day and bought, oh my God, look at this bitch on EBT on this video. She got like $4,000 in groceries. Who gives a fuck? She's feeding her kids. Yeah, it's taking advantage of the system, and yeah, nobody should do it. But is that worth getting upset more than a fucking billionaire who just stole $7.8 billion in the stock market by the time I finish this sentence? You don't bat an eye about the billionaire fucking stealing billions. But Jesus Christ, this girl on EBT, this poor person she bought extra fucking things of chips. Oh, the big beautiful Bill Trump. I need to control what these guys eat. We need to control what the ants eat. They can't have chips. We got to fuck up all these guys that are using the EBTs because they're buying chips and cookies. No. How about this? How about you? Here you go. You want to fix something? Fix your interest on payments. Here you go, everybody. Let me say this again. The number one payment for the United States was interest on our debt. We paid $144 billion on it, and it's going to keep growing. But instead, you're worrying about saving, oh my God, we're going to save what? 40, 50 billion here. How about you start getting this under control? Because this is just throwing money away. You're paying interest on debt. Think about that. It's not going towards anybody. It's not going towards helping your economy. It's not going towards your citizens. At least the other way, your citizens are getting it. You're giving this to other countries. You're giving this to companies and corporations that are already rich as fuck. Perfect. But that's okay. Like I said, the psyops that they have on the world, the amount of people that can't look at this chart and understand this chart, that's what they want. There's this, you got to listen to this before I go on for a second. I wish I would have listened to him more. Where the hell? But just listen to this clip for like 40 seconds. I wish I would listen to this man a lot more because nope. They're definitely not interested in that. They want people that cannot look at anything financially, understand it. They want people that can't look at this chart and understand, what does this mean? This means the Federal Reserve is not paying the Treasury and owes them $244 billion. What does that mean? That means the Treasury is going to one day print out another $244 billion just to pay one IOU that they owe the Treasury. But on top of that, they're not lowering rates. It's just going to keep going and going and going and going because none of these guys give a shit about devaluing your dollar because they don't work for $15 an hour. They don't work for $25 an hour. They have more money and things. The 1% I showed you this year for the first time in history, the 1% has more than all of the 99% combined. 600 people have more than 340 million people, and nobody sees a problem. That is insanity. Meanwhile, they're giving themselves more tax breaks and telling you, hey, stop making coffee, stop going to fucking Starbucks, make your own. Hey, get a second job, you're fucking lazy. Meanwhile, what have they done? Oh, 90% of these fuckers stole their shit. Bezos didn't even come up with fucking Amazon all the way. Douchebag over at Facebook stole it. Half these fucking people. Bill Gates. Look at the history of Bill Gates and Microsoft. Almost all these fuckers are the guys who they didn't know how to program. They didn't know how to do all this shit, but they knew somebody who did, and they were their financiers. And guess what? They fucked over the smart guy. Crazy. They stole his idea because they had the money. He said it's the same shit every time. Somebody fucks. The entire history books now are filled with fucking criminals and dead corpses of all the good guys, man, who just went along with it. Like I said, they call us sheeple for a reason. Like I said, they revolted for 1/10 of what happened. The second we got off the fucking gold standard, what happened? The way of life for all Americans plummeted. It dropped. Getting off gold standard allowed them to print more dollars, devalue the dollar, funnel it, create it, and make it a digital thing. Because now you can have more than you print. That is the point of the dollar, is you could only have a certain amount that you have backed, or you have to keep buying gold. Which meant that Americans could go out and buy gold and always know that anytime we needed to print, you could still save yourself from inflation by buying gold, because you knew your country had to buy gold to print more. That was the point of the gold standard, to save their citizens and to protect everyone. The second he took it off, he should have been fucking impeached that day. Everybody should have fucking revolted, and today, every day more and more, it gets worse and worse and worse. But here's the thing. Eventually, all good things, even Rome, comes to an end. What did they do now that is coming to an end? They're going to get fucked up soon. Mortgage delinquencies are exploding. Mortgage delinquencies are up 200% in the last 6 months. Now, I want you to listen to what this talks about, because you've heard these before. Where the heck is it? Hold on. Here we go. They're giving out they've been doing subprime mortgages again on all of these houses, you guys. Do you remember subprime mortgages? The things that helped fucking crash the economy in 2008? Well, guess what? Subprime mortgages are on a default streak of 200% increase in the last 6 months. Subprime mortgages. This is the exact same thing that caused the housing crash in 2008, and they're exploding again in the back end. Nobody's talking about it, and everybody is trying to ignore it. So you now have, they're like, oh, they're just trying to ignore it. The regional banks, they're doing extend and pretends on these again. They're letting people that default just kind of like pretend they didn't default for a couple months, just so many defaults don't hit their books at once. So they're going to let people live in their house an extra month or two, but then they're going to kick them out, and then they'll default them. Nobody can afford a house. Everybody is finally getting to that point where Americans are broke, and now they're lying to people about the Epstein case. I'm waiting to see how far it takes before people finally start going, all right, we need to do something about this. The country is stolen by fucking criminals. Ask Nancy Pelosi and every single fucking one of those losers that do insider trading and make hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. Every time Nancy Pelosi steals and makes money in the stock market, she's stealing from retail investors. She's stealing from people's fucking retirement. That's what these fuckers are doing. Now, if you guys look at these subprime loans and why are they defaulting? Look at back in the day. Buying a home in 1985 versus 2022. In 1985, the average income was $23,000, while your house payment, $83,000. So you made about a fourth of your income. of your house's equity was your income. So what? You had no problem paying it off in 10, 15, 20 years. No fucking problem. Now if you look at it, here's the difference. This is today's. You have 74,580 with a price of 468,000. Now add in inflation towards these numbers. Inflation on 74,000 turns this back down to what? About 40,000? So you're making now, instead of making a fourth of your income for everybody on your house's equity, everybody's now making 1/10. And this is what they do, and this is what every time they print does to us in our dollar. Dude, everybody can complain about AMC. You want to complain about AMC's price right now? Do it. You should. Fucking manipulated as fuck. Shit's all been fucking manipulated. Why is GameStop where it is? Why are all these things where it is? We have think about it. When retail owned fucking 90% of the shares, according to everybody, why wasn't the price skyrocketed? Because we're all still buying. Price should have been skyrocketing. Skyrocketing. How many shares are there? Oh, there's as many shares as we want to give people. I've already told people at this point. At this point, ride it. Ride different things you guys should have been learning forever. I've been showing you guys stuff. There's ways to make money. There's strategies out there to make some money back. Keep making it back. We got Ape at 77 cents. There's a lot of things that we've done to lower people's averages. But of course, it's a fucking gong show right now. We need the box office to come back. You're seeing a little bit of jump. The box office will come back in Q3, Q4, and guess what? In 2026, you'll have the best box office you've had in 7 to 10 years. And AMC's price will jump back up. Said everybody, just wait till 2026. The problem is nobody wanted to listen about fundamentals for 4 years. Everybody wanted to tell me fundamentals don't matter. Fundamentals were why you were diluting. I told you guys that for years. Stop thinking dilution at all times is horrible, because you got to pay off debt and you got to get to this point where your company's stable, and when you get to a stable point, that's when you'll stop dilution. It's literally common sense, and it's business practice 101. Nobody wanted to listen to that. Everybody wanted to listen to Matt fucking Korth. No, let's not fucking dilute at $28. Why? Why would we not want to raise another 1.2 fucking billion dollars quick? No, we don't want to do that. It might kill the squeeze. No, killing their short thesis kills the squeeze. If we would have done that too, like I said, everybody fought him at every single turn, dude. Meanwhile, everybody, anytime Ryan Cohen diluted in GameStop, they cheered it on. Because that's exactly what Roaring Kitty said. I don't give a fuck about dilution if it benefits the company. But nobody wanted to listen to him when that came to AMC. Like I said, it's just, we did shit wrong, they did shit wrong, but the fact that anybody wants to think that AMC's not manipulated, there's not tons of shit hidden in derivatives, there's not tons of IOUs given out to retail at this point, dude, you obviously haven't been paying attention. But what they're trying to do right now for the housing crisis is, this is actually a good thing. So one of the things that they're trying to do is, so when people go try and get a loan right now, their credit score, nothing ever looked at their rent payments. The rent payments never came up. But like Plut said here, if you can make a rent payment every month of $1,800, why the hell could you not make a house payment of $1,600, of $2,000, of $1,800? There's no reason you can afford the rent, but you can't afford the house when they're the same cost. So he's now going to start adding that for banks so they can look at that score as well. So this will give more people that have been paying rent out of renting and into homes. So this actually is a pretty big deal. So I do want to give this guy, I hate Plut. I'm not a Plut fan, but this actually was a pretty big, like I said, I feel like he just used the movement, got his name out there, got in his thing, and like I said, whatever. Grifter's going to grift, but this is actually a very, very, very good thing. So good job on that, my friend. But again, now Amazon's dropping 41%. Amazon's Prime Day deal, everybody's getting tapped out. I showed you with these mortgages. If you look at it right now, it's everybody's starting to get tapped out. They no longer gave people buy now, pay later. Now, buy now, pay later is now considered a credit card because it now goes onto your credit history. So nobody's sitting there buying, maxing out their money, and spending extra cash. So now these companies are going to start to finally feel all these investors being broke. Profits are going to start to drop, and this is what we wanted to see. Eventually, we don't have enough to spend at their stores, and now their stores are going to have to start declining or faking numbers. As they said, the U.S. customer is no longer stretched. They're now snapping. What the hell? There you go. We're tapped out. Everybody's tapped out. Prime Day deal shows that as well. What is going on? Apparently my computer's having a moment here. What is going on here? Alright. I feel like I'm lagging out pretty hard. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so yeah, Prime Day deals are dropping. Nobody has money anymore. But at the same time, thank God, Citadel Securities bought Morgan Stanley's option market maker. So if you're on, I think it's like E-Trade, Citadel now owns your flow. Just so you guys know. Criminals get in a little bit deeper. Does anyone have any questions at all? I know, dude. It's like, what the hell's going on? Computer suddenly just starts dying off. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it looks good now, but that's all I had to show you. I just really wanted to show you guys just mainly how fucking stupid this Epstein clown show is, and really what's going on. They paid over $500 million. They paid over $500 million to keep these girls quiet, and the ones that haven't, they've literally killed. They're doing anything. Now that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to have her appeals court, they're going to do anything and everything. They sent the entire U.S. government to try to stop it from happening. And if it doesn't and it goes to retrial, something's going to happen to Max. She's going to commit suicide magically. Because they cannot have this go to trial, because they will have to have everything they just did to cover up. And everything Trump tried to do to put this case away will come right back to the spotlight if they approve this appeal. If they bring this back to trial, shit's gonna get crazy. Trump's angry because apparently the Democrats made the Epstein list. But thank you guys for listening. I just want to give everybody a quick update. We'll be back here soon. Thank you. Have a good one.